Hi everyone, welcome to the Robert Show. Super excited to be today with Marinela from SAS. Long time connection, but finally we are chatting. Super excited to be with you, Marinela, and welcome to the Robert Show. It's your debut.
Hi, Ravid. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. For our audience today, we go beyond Gen AI and get practical about Agentic AI. Obviously, we'll be discussing a lot with Marinela about how do you break down autonomy levels, decisioning, orchestration, and also the human role with real use cases. So we'll also separate LLMs from agents and show the governance needed to move from pilots to production, because I feel like that's one conversation that I have with a lot of enterprise leaders. So I'm excited to hear from Marinela about that. So let's maybe get into it. And Marinela, obviously, we all have heard of Gen AI by now. So, but agentic AI is like the next big buzz. Can you explain what makes agentic AI different? Why enterprises caring so much about it? If you can share a little bit about that, and then we can, obviously learn more about the different things, the real use cases, and pilots to production as well.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I think that's a great place to start at Ravid. So, um, think about generative. The way I like to think about generative AI is that it is all about creating, whether that it's content, whether it's text, code, or images, versus generative AI. Agentic AI is about doing. So I like this dichotomy of like creating versus doing, right? So agentic AI systems go beyond content generation, and they're able to take autonomous actions towards a specific goal, being able to continuously learn from feedback and context. So think of it as AI that not only suggests, right, or generates, but decides and acts, often coordinating across
Yep.
multiple systems, tools,
Mhm.
and protocols. So I think that's where the biggest difference is.
Yeah, very good points, Manala. Or when it comes to obviously differentiating it, I'm kind of also curious because I talk to a lot of enterprises as well, and I'm pretty sure you talk to a lot of customers, a lot of practitioners, and you're very much involved in the community too. But where are most of the enterprises getting it wrong when they're trying to implement agentic AI? Is it like a tooling issue or mindset shift or something else? What are your thoughts? What have you been hearing? Kind of curious to hear your thoughts here.
Yeah, that is a great question. I would definitely say that it's rarely a tooling problem alone. It's almost always a mindset and architecture problem from what I've seen talking to
Mm-hmm,
enterprises.
mm-hmm,
Many organizations, I would say that they rush into agentic AI, assuming that they just plug an LLM into a workflow and they suddenly have an agent, right? But without decision logic, without governance, without clear autonomy boundaries, so where does the human intervene? Where is the agent acting autonomously? Where there is that escalation into another system or a human, these agents then become ungoverned experiments rather than production systems. So I've seen enterprises really underestimate the need for deterministic guardrails. So the auditable rules, business logic, and
very
oversight, that
important.
it's really what keep agents accountable.
Yeah, I think you mentioned a very important point, the guardrails, right? And that also kind of reminds me of something that I was recently having a conversation around that. When you think about guardrails, there could be various things, and it could be even data privacy that can come into the game, AI governance can come into the play. The what what is your thoughts, and what's like a few things that these leaders should keep in mind when they are kind of obviously implementing agentic AI uh, along, and what are those guardrails that you would suggest?
Well, we talk about guardrails. First of all, what do we mean about it, right? we're talking
Exactly.
about providing the systems boundaries within which these systems, this agentic systems can act within. So the
Yep.
guardrails can be of different kinds, can be of data privacy, so the ability of a certain agent to access or not access certain data,
Right.
to be data security. It could be also based on the decision type. So if you are, for example, looking to view something like predicting fraud or
Yep.
detecting fraud or high stake decisions, you might want to have a guardrail that it's about what type of model the agent should use as a tool to make that decision. Should it be an
Exactly.
LLM? Probably not. Should it be a deterministic model, right? More of like the traditional AI models? Maybe yes, for more for decisions that are more high stake and for which you cannot afford any mistake, any hallucination, but you need the highest level of accuracy possible. And especially for highly regulated industries, that's where I've seen the need of these type of guardrails the most. So I think data guardrail, modeling guardrail around decision quality, and the last is the human guardrail. I think that's probably the most important ones because
Yep.
sometimes, you can think of AI agent autonomy as a spectrum. It's not a binary. It's not like you have an agent that it's fully autonomous or not autonomous at all. You need to have the spectrum that decides when the human is in control, in full control, and when the agent is full control, or when there is that hybrid approach that at SAS we tend to advocate for more, that kind of a hybrid approach where you have humans and agents working together in a governed and controlled environment.
Love it. These are fantastic points, Marinela, and thanks for giving us an in-depth understanding of, obviously what sort of guardrails they can have in place, but at the same time, human guardrail, which is, very important. So thanks for sharing that. I also wanted to touch a little bit on the real-world impact. Can you share one or more enterprise use cases where Agentic AI is actually making an impact that comes to your mind?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I think, at the end of the day, it's just about everything. It's about real world impact and the value that this technology is it's emerging. We're all seeing the recent study from MIT that it's showing how 95% of generative AI use cases is actually failing into production. And so I think that
Exactly.
the first point and takeaway that I've learned over the past 2-3 years working on this emerging technology is don't think that agentic AI it's a magic unicorn that you can apply everywhere within your organization. So it does not
Okay.
work for every use case. For some use cases, you might still benefit from continuing to use the traditional AI algorithms that you've used and the same level of automation that you've had. For others, agentic AI is bringing more value. So, for example, I've seen across different industries, I've worked with financial services. SAS is specialized in governance, so we are very good with highly regulated industries to help them implement
Nice.
AI. So use cases like collections optimization agent, where you have a multi-agent flow that optimizes collections by identifying and prioritizing high-risk customers, and then providing human agents will tailored negotiation scripts and the best communication channels based
Nice.
on an analysis of past interactions and external market data. This is an example. Another example is in manufacturing, so supply chain optimization
Mm-hmm.
agents, where you have a multi-agent system that is designed, it analyzes data and makes decisions about inventory levels, logistics, demand forecasting to improve efficiency across the supply chain and reducing costs. And some of you might be thinking, these are not things that we're doing now with agents, right? We've been doing this use cases forever. Like we have been applying AI and analytics to these areas. That is true, but it's where agentic AI is proving that higher productivity, that better decision quality, and that's higher efficiency than traditional systems. Then there are other areas or other use
Yep.
cases where you simply don't benefit from including LLMs because it just becomes a sunk cost that is not justifiable by the
Yep.
level of value that it provides.
Yeah, I love these examples, and especially when you're kind of catering to regulated industries, I feel like the real impact needs to be so high. But when we kind of also talk about the real world cases and the impact, I'm kind of also curious, and maybe you might be getting this question a lot when you are in the implementation process, is like the ROI, right? What do you think about when you hear this question, and if enterprise leaders come to you asking about Marinela, maybe can you tell us more about the ROI that we're going to get having agentic AI systems in place? Tell us more. So, how do you kind of, explain that?
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, the what's the ROI of this? It's a question I hear a lot, and probably the number one question that I get asked every time I'm in a room with C levels that are
Yeah,
looking to either justify to their board the investment in this area. Now,
right.
I would like by saying that the short answer is that traditional ROI models they fall short when measuring the full impact of AI or AI agents in general. So we need
Right.
to move beyond just pure cost savings and look at value that AI can bring through a multi-layered lens, right? There is the
True.
efficiency layer, and that's I like to talk about it as the value of the AI pyramid, I call it. So the first is the efficiency layer. That's the most obvious one, where executives track time saved, automation rates, how much costs are reduced. But stopping there, I always say that it would be like evaluating the electronic mail based on how many letters it replaces. Like there is so much more than that in value, right? So the
So
second
true.
layer is decision quality, for example. The second layer, like, are you making better underwriting decisions, better fraud detection calls, more accurate risk scoring? Like AI excels at this, at detecting anomalies that humans miss. And that's a core source of value that is not in the spreadsheet on cost reduction or automation rates. And then the last one, which is often the most powerful but the hardest to measure, is organizational adaptability or innovation. Like, is AI fostering innovation? Are my teams more agile? I recently, for example, worked with a regional bank where generative
Hmm.
AI didn't just accelerate client onboarding, it actually sparked a whole new way of working between compliance, legal, and front office teams. And
Oh,
so,
nice.
yeah, so this cultural impact wasn't in the original ROI spreadsheet, but it created a
Yep.
ripple effect of innovation. So don't start from like what's the ROI in terms of what's the cost, but look at it in terms of a broader element that it brings into the organization.
I really like the point where you kind of started from. You need to actually move from the traditional sort of approach where cost saving was like the first thing that everyone wanted to focus on. It needs to move not only culturally but mindset as well, because here we are kind of aiming for something much more when we're kind of thinking about ROI, and these parameters actually help us define those ROI pretty well. So that's fantastic. We'll keep going, and I obviously wanted to also touch a base on the LLM first approach. So what's your take on the current LLM first approach in the market? Do you think enterprises are like over relying on language models to do too much, or is it the other way around?
Well, I do think I'm just going to be direct here. I do think that enterprises are over relying on LLMs too much,
Okay. Hmm.
and it's understandable. LLMs are powerful, they're accessible, they make artificial intelligence feel so tangible. But the challenge is that LLMs are not predictable. So they hallucinate, they cannot guarantee compliance, they were not
Yeah.
designed to make high stake decisions or high stake business decisions. And so enterprises that go LLM first, often I've seen they end up with impressive demos, but no production scalability. So the work that I've been doing and leading at SAS over the past few years, we've seen a lot of success in integrating LLMs with business rules, with deterministic models and memory. So these four components plugged into an agentic workflow are what it actually allows to implement and scale AI in a trustworthy way, right? Where you don't have just an LLM, which is only a probabilistic component, but you have that
Okay.
deterministic component, that orchestration layer, the monitoring framework, and everything else that is needed to trust. Now, I also want to add a different piece here, which is
Yeah,
I
for
found
sure.
very interesting. So recently, SAS conducted a global study on
Mm-hmm.
in partnership with IDC, the big analyst firm.
Yep. Yep.
And they basically asked more than 2,000 global leaders around different industries worldwide. They wanted to analyze the level of trust that they had in artificial intelligence. And you know what came out? That people, like leaders, trust generative AI algorithms, which are the newest algorithms, the less proved, the one that hallucinate the most. They trust them more than algorithms that traditional AI algorithms that have been around for decades, that are mathematically provable, that are traceable, that we have statistical
Yep.
explainability. And so that was very interesting on like how we are trusting the system without the system actually having done anything to earn that trust from a
Very interesting.
mathematical standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very interesting, and thanks for sharing that. With us, because it makes me think at least about, because I talk to a lot of leaders in this space as well, and like you said, most of the enterprises would have like the LLM first approach, but for obvious reasons. But is it that we are kind of over relying on that? Maybe yes. Who knows? Right, so that's a pretty good example there, and thanks for sharing that. Also kind of wanting to know, when we because like you talk to CIOs, CDOs, those heads of data, VPs of data a lot. If you have to share one advice with the CIOs or the chief data officers listening right now, who wants to move from the experiment to now the production that is great agentic AI, what would it be?
Well, there is many. I think that first of all, going back to the ROI question that you asked before, I do see a lot of
Mm-hmm.
executives that or C levels that are very excited about agentic AI, but they don't know where to start and they don't know how to justify. They don't know if they're going to do the right thing by investing into it. So to them, I would like to say, think of it as the early internet. Nobody in the early 2000s, no one could give you an ROI calculation for building a website, but everybody will tell you if you don't, you'll be irrelevant.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think we're seeing the same inflection point with agentic AI, with agents and generative AI right now. So it's not just a tool, it's a capability shift. It changes how an organization operates, not what you can just automate. So it's about enabling like to become an enterprise, an AI native enterprise. So faster risk responses, more personalized customer interaction, regulatory agility, and making sure that your talent is ready for the next phase of disruption. So first of all, believe in the systems. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't think that this is going to be a waste of your time, a waste of your money, because it's not about just ROI now. It's about, are you ready? Are you going to be ready for what the market is going to request in the next 5 years? That's the first
Right.
advice. The second is, once you have decided that you want to invest in this technology, design for governance from day one. Day one, document your models, monitor drift, enforce observability. Don't start with just sparkling some LLMs here and there, but start designing with governance, because regulations
Yep.
are catching up fast, and so trust is going to be the license to operate for these enterprises. And the third piece, I think, is to invest in the architecture and not just the algorithms, or not just the which LLM should I buy, which LLM should I use. There are so many. No, like, think about the architectures, right? You need to unify your data, your models, your monitoring systems to be able to scale. It's not just about what's the best LLM, what's the best algorithm, what's the cheapest
True.
LLM. it's about having that 360 view of having a blueprint for which you can an AI blueprint for which you can scale measurable business value and that end-to-end foundation. This is the number one piece of advice that I've seen working very well with the customers I've worked in the past years.
Love it. These are fantastic advices for various leaders in the space, in those CDOs, those CIOs, obviously wanting to move from experiment to production grade agentic AI, and want to not only just focus on LLMs but go beyond that as well. This is fantastic. Marinela, one last question for you is, because I know you put out a lot of content, you put out a lot of helpful educational content for the audience as well. If folks want to follow that, if folks want to also get in touch with you, which is the best place they can do and learn about agentic AI, about AI, Gen AI, about LLMs as well, where can they do that?
Yeah, so there are different channels. Well, if you want to get in touch with me, they can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm Marinela Profi. With regards to all the content, SAS.com/Agentic AI, it's a great place to start to learn more about
Nice.
the vision that and the work that we're doing at SAS when it comes to Agentic AI. And then obviously, just the SAS blogs are a great tool as well to stay on top of all the market trends, how the market is shifting, what are the use cases, the enterprise, like the enterprise use cases, and what to learn and what to stay, the best tool and sources to stay updated on.
I love it. Fantastic conversation, Marinala. Thanks for sharing all the details. For me, a few key takeaways: our agents are systems, not prompts. Autonomy needs guardrails, so keep that in mind. Orchestration is the missing link. Also, combine deterministic and probabilistic methods, wrap them with the governance, and ship to production in steps. That will definitely help not only just the enterprise leaders but also working everyone who's working in the community and working towards making agentic AI successful. We'll keep the conversation going. I can't wait to catch up in person, Marinala. I'm pretty sure we'll catch up at an event somewhere, and we'll discuss more about the different things that you've been doing in this space. But such a pleasure
Yes,
chatting
can't
with
wait.
you today. Yeah,
Thank you, Rabbit.
and yeah, it's always good to see you and keep sharing all the great content that you always do. For those who wish to follow Marinela, she is on LinkedIn. I'll obviously be tagging her, so you can always follow her and ask questions. She's super approachable and always happy to help the community. So once again,
Absolutely.
thanks for visiting the Rabbit Show,
Thank you,
and
Rabbit. Thanks for having
we'll
me.
keep the conversation going. Thank you.
Yeah, can't
Thank
wait.
you,
Bye
everyone,
bye. Have a
for
good day.
joining us.